My name is Adrian Jacobs, and this is my story. And I'm going to relate my story to you this afternoon is based on 5 things that will cover my lifespan. Now, I'm a husband of 20 years, a father of a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. I define myself as a son. I define myself as a servant of the Lord. I define myself as a friend to many. And what I want to speak to you about is specifically what happens when a man's life is marked by God. What happens when our lives as men are marked by Him and Him alone. And how I will relate my story covers all these 5 points. So when I speak of a man is marked by God, I'm speaking specifically about your life and my life being purposed for a higher calling. Being purposed for what God is calling you to, whether it be like myself in ministry, whether it be in the marketplace that you stand in, your leadership roles, your strategic positions, whether it be your family, your own personal walk, whether it be any and every form and sphere of life where you are marked by God as a man. Marked by God means to live according to His will. Marked by God means to live and answer the purpose and the calling of your life. So you and I are to advance to fulfill the potential of our lives. Because each and every one of us have potential. Each and every one of us has been given a calling. There is an assignment on your life. There is a destiny that you have to fulfill. So again, what happens when a man is marked by God? The first mark is the mark of grace. So in my life, I had 2 vivid moments where I had to face my own mortality. At the age of 31, I suffered a heart attack. It was caused by a degenerative heart disease that was never diagnosed. In actual fact, the day I had to undergo the surgery that would close the hole in my heart, I remember it vividly. This hole apparently was there from the day I was born. Through all of my life, nobody has picked up that I had a hole in my heart. The day I laid in bed and I was in hospital getting ready for the procedure, an elderly sister or matron came into the room. And she was cheerful, she was chirpy, she was happy-go-lucky. And she said to me, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 31. And she said, "What happened to you?" And I said, "I had a heart attack." And she was laughing and she said, "You are too young to have a heart attack. What's wrong with you?" And I said this to her. I said, "They found a hole in my heart." From being chirpy, from being cheerful, she starts crying. And she starts crying bitterly. Now I'm thinking maybe I offended this lady. Maybe I said something wrong. Then she relayed the story to me. She said her daughter was 14 years of age and she just dropped dead. When they did the autopsy on her, they found she had a hole in her heart. And the doctors, the cardiologists, all the specialists told me this, that you were not meant to make it out of your teenage years. How did you make it this far? They said you are an anomaly. You are a medical anomaly. Think about this. You're being called a medical anomaly. How did you make it thus far? And then I realized my life was marked by grace. Because when others call you an anomaly, when others call you a medical anomaly, when others call you things that you don't even understand yourself, how you would have made it thus far, you realize it's only but by the hand of God. The second moment in life where I faced my own mortality, in 2014, I stared down the barrel of a gun right in front of my house. My vehicle was forcefully taken from me, a brand new vehicle. I only had it for 2 days. Brand new vehicle. It was taken from me. And the lives of my young daughters were threatened in that moment. And I remember telling the hijackers, I remember telling them that my kids were small. I said, "I can't allow you to go into the house." At that moment, I was ready to fight. That moment, I was ready to die if I had to. I complied with everything that they wanted from me. I gave them the car keys. I said, "Take the vehicle, go." But the moment they started forcing me to go into my house, I said, "Today is the day I fight and I die for the lives of my kids. And I said this to them. I said, my children are small. I have people depending on me. I have a church that depends on me. I've got people that depend on me as their pastor. And right there, I saw the gracious hand of the Lord change the whole situation. Look, they still took the vehicle, but I saw grace. And I realized that when you are marked by grace, as a man, when you are marked by grace, you understand your life is not your own. You understand you don't live this life because you have called yourself into it. Your life belongs to Him. At any moment, at any time, He could take you out. At any moment, at any time, He can snuff you out. Your life is in His hands. Our lives are in His hands. When you're marked by grace, you recognize that your life then means much more than what it means at that moment in time. So I hope this encourages somebody. You mean much more than what you think you mean right now. So when your life is marked by grace, you have to live a life that is in pursuit of what God has marked you for. God gives you the grace. Think about this. I can think even beyond this of many moments in my life where I shouldn't be here where I am right now. But here I'm sitting. And I can only say it's but by the grace of God. So each and every one of us, when a man's life is marked by grace, you understand I mean much more than what I do at this moment. And there may be moments where you question yourself. There may be moments where you doubt yourself. There may be moments when you think, I am not supposed to be here. But then you know you are marked by grace. I have to say this. When I realized my life is marked by grace, 6 months after having the heart attack in 2010, 6 months after that, I re-entered full-time ministry. And God has been gracious to me. God has been gracious. The second mark is the mark of being marked by mercy. Firstly, it's grace, and then mercy. Now we understand if grace is the unmerited favor of God, meaning He extends to us what we don't deserve, then mercy is God keeping what we do deserve, His judgment, His condemnation from us. The actual truth is that we are not just marked to receive mercy, but we are marked to extend mercy. And here, I want to say, I'm 24 years in ministry. I've learned many times, through hard times, through difficult times, that we are meant to extend mercy to everyone. As a man, you understand that if you have received mercy from Him, He kept judgment from you. He kept condemnation from you. Then you are to extend mercy. God demands us to be merciful in how we work for Him and how we work with others. I can recount many moments in ministry where I've been battered, I've been bruised, and I've had to show mercy to others. When they have hurt me, when people have slandered me, when people spoke ill of me, when people that I know I've been so good to them suddenly decide to walk away from me and make it like I am the one that hurt them, like I'm the one that caused them pain, you quickly learn what mercy is. You quickly learn that you are called to be merciful. Because when people return and you look at people and understand your life is meant for people, it becomes one of life's greatest tests. And a man that is marked by God will always live this life beyond himself. You live this life beyond the hurts and the pains that you have experienced. You may have failed in the marketplace. You may have failed in running a business or starting something. But you have received from the Lord a great test in your life. That how did I treat the people around me? Extending mercy is to say I am aware of my assignment. I'm aware of my assignment in spite of hurts and pains, in spite of being slandered, in spite of being criticized, in spite of being called names. I'm aware of my assignment in the lives of other people. Because you and I can only extend mercy to others. We can't extend mercy to anything else but people. So when we understand our assignment and we understand the assignment God has given us in the lives of people, then we know that people are always on His heart. And people are on His heart, they must be on ours. And when our hearts are tender when our hearts are tender towards people, then it doesn't matter the circumstance. Then you are truly walking out what it means to be Jesus in the lives of others. What it means to be a man that shows mercy. Isn't it that Jesus says, blessed are the merciful? Is it not that we are called to live in mercy? So I spoke about grace, I spoke about mercy. The third mark is the mark of authentic authority. Authentic authority. A man whose life is marked by God recognizes the true source of his authority. That is humility. And what truly unlocks his authority, submission. So, as I said, I've been a faith leader, pastor, a minister of the gospel for 24 years, and I've served across the church in various capacities. But I've learned that the best influence that you can ever exert on other people is humility. Humility is locating it in the mark that God has for your life. My life means more than where I'm at the moment. Therefore, I'm very aware as a servant of God that He entrusts the redemption, number one. He entrusts this transformation, number two. The sanctification. And ultimately, the glorification of His people to His servants. And that must be the most humbling experience of our lives. Now, God humbled me about 22 years ago, or 24 years ago, let me rather say, at the beginning of my ministry career. I was a young man, 22 years of age. I had a bachelor's degree in my pocket, just newly minted from the seminary that I studied at, from a big denominational church. I was raised in the church. I served in the church. I was theologically trained in the church. And I thought with this arm and this being armed with a bachelor's degree, I would be snapped up. Churches would come for me. Churches would look for me. I even went for interviews in some big churches in our denomination, thinking that, you know what, I'm a good speaker. I'm a good preacher. I'm a good teacher. I'm a young man. I think I would be able to lead and do well. I was interviewed, as I said. But quickly I realized no church is coming for me. Quickly I realized that whatever I thought I was, whatever I thought I had, whatever I thought I was going to be, it was not going to happen. So in May of 2002, after having to move back to Port Elizabeth, I was called to come and assist at a very small church in the township here in Gauteng. The most I ever received as a salary in my years at the church was 750 rand. That was my salary. 2-minute noodles was my favorite dish of choice. And it wasn't by choice. If I didn't go visit people, if I didn't say to people, I'm coming to visit you and pray with you, I wouldn't eat at night. So I was humbled. I lived in a back room in one of the leaders' homes. A back room, little kitchenette, bathroom. I lived there. I walked everywhere, didn't have a car. I want to share this with you. The day I proposed to my wife, I had to lay by her ring. And I always tell my wife she's brave. I always tell her that. I had absolutely nothing and she said yes to me. I had to lay by her ring 6 installments to get a ring that was less than 1,000 rand. I don't know what she thought she was getting herself into. But that is how I got humbled. I walked everywhere in the township. I worked everywhere in the township. My arrival at the church was met with us first meeting in a classroom at a primary school with less than 7 people in it. Within months, we moved to a tent. Within months, we moved into the local community hall. When I left the church, after the leadership of the church said that they didn't recognize my gifting, that I was too young to lead the church as its pastor, all I had left was my suitcase. I had a duffel bag. I had some books and no place to live. It was the most humbling experience of my life. I could have gone home to be with my parents, but I decided I wasn't going to, because God has called me for something greater. When I look back at that humbling experience, I want to say this. It was the saving moment of my life. Because here I learned to truly love God. This moment I learned to truly trust God. And I learned to love his people, to love his church, to serve with everything on the inside of me. Humility. When you are marked by God, you understand that you have to walk humbly before him. Micah 6 and 8 is one of my favorite verses in the Bible, where we are asked, what does God require of us? The prophet says. It says to do justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with our God. I've learned authentic authority starts with humility. Because then you know everything that you do and everywhere you will go, whatever God will do with your life, was birthed in the place of humility. So when you're on major platforms at some point in your life, you are always to remember the grace that brought you there, the humility that brought you there. Let me share this with you quickly. First time I traveled to India, I traveled with my bishop and we were going to consecrate a bishop, the first Pentecostal bishop to be consecrated in India. And I was part of the delegation to go consecrate the bishop. And we were in Mumbai, India. We're one of the biggest, the most beautiful hotels I've ever seen, called the Oberoi Hotel. It's one of the most fanciest hotels. One of those hotels where you get your own personal concierge. You get a butler that watches you, that comes to your room, that writes letters to you, saying, I've seen you do this. I've prepared your room for you like this. I've prepared your room for you like that. And I remember the one day I'm sitting after the consecration service and I'm sitting at this beautiful pool and the butler comes and he serves me. And I'm looking over the skyline of Mumbai, India. This is one of the biggest cities I've ever seen in my life. And as I'm sitting there, I started bawling my eyes out. I started crying. Because then I realized, only but by the grace of God. Because where I started and where I find myself can only but be his grace. The second leg of authentic authority is submission. I live by the leadership maxim found in the scriptures. The Roman centurion comes to Jesus. He says, I'm a man in authority and under authority. Men in authority must learn that the great strength of your authority is not others obeying you. That's not the strength of your authority. It's who do you obey? Who do you submit to? In our church, I submit to everyone. On a Sunday morning when I go to the platform, there's a media team that tells me, Pastor, you stand here. Pastor, you sit here. Pastor, you do this. Pastor, you take the stage at this moment in time. And these are all young people. I'm the pastor of the church. Never once have I pulled rank on them. Never once have I said to them, listen, I'm the pastor here. You don't tell me where I sit. Because I'm a man in authority and I'm a man under authority. I submit to my spiritual father and mother. I submit to my parents. I submit to my wife even. And sometimes a man that is marked by God must understand you submit to your children as well. You submit in all things of your life. You don't just submit to superiors. You don't just submit to those who are greater than you. But you submit to the people that can do absolutely nothing for you. The people that you are called to lead. A man marked by God lives a submitted life. He lives a life that can say, I know my strength. I know my level of authority. But I know how to submit this. And I want to say this to you. You and I must understand. The grace on your life, the gifts on your life, it's under command. You have to submit yourself. You want to ascertain places in life that you've never been and never seen. You want to be a great man. You submit your gifts. You submit your grace. You submit the anointing. You submit your talents. You submit it and you will see those that cover you will send you into places you never thought you would ever go. Will take you into rooms you never thought you would be able to go. I've met some amazing men and women of God because I submitted myself to the Lord and to those above me. So, I said to you faith, I said mercy, authentic authority. Let me give you a fourth one and then the fifth one, and I'll close off my story. The fourth mark is the mark of legacy. The mark of legacy. A man marked by God is a legacy carrier, and is a generator of legacy. You don't just carry it, but you generate it. Everything that a man is given to him to show his faithfulness, to show that he can handle the next level of his promotion, to show that what he has been given, he's more than able to build it and to grow it. I sat about probably now 12 years ago in a boardroom. I was a pastor in our church, and across from me sat my spiritual father, the leader of our church. And that day there was a normal executive leadership meeting, and he said he's about to step down, he's about to focus on other areas of his life, other areas of ministry that he would love to enter into. And when he said that, he looked across the table and he said, Pastor Adrian will be the pastor of the church. There was no conversation with me. There was no sense of, I knew that this was going to happen. I was happy to serve in how I was serving in the church. I had my own plans. The moment he said that, legacy was passed down. Because now I had to be faithful with what was before, and faithful what was to come as well. I had a role to play. A legacy of faith, a legacy of leadership, a legacy of authority was now given to me. And I had to realize in that moment in time that I'm fit for the purpose that God is calling me into. I could have said, no. I could have said, but there was no conversation. I wanted to say that many a times over the years. I wanted to say, but I was never asked. I never asked for this. I never wanted this. It was thrust on me. But when you realize that your life is marked for legacy, you realize that you are entrusted with yesterday's victories. You're entrusted with the realities of today to make sure that what the victories of yesterday was and how it came to be will be transmitted into the future for the future generations. You are, and I love this analogy. I always tell people when I talk of legacy carriers, when you watch the strongman competitions, there is one specific competition where there's 500 kilograms pillars on both sides. It's like the story of Samson, when Samson goes and stands between the two pillars and he pushes it out. But in the strongman competition, 500 kilogram pillars on both sides of the competitor, he has to hold them for as long as he can. I see that as a great analogy of legacy, that you are right there in the middle. You are faithful to what has been before, but now you are passing and you are standing there, getting ready for what is to come. So a legacy carrier becomes a legacy generator. Does not mean because you carry on what someone else may have started, that you don't have a part and a role to play. Your faith, your life, your grace, your gift will make room for you, that you are part of a greater legacy and carrying that forward. The last one I want to share with you is the mark of overcoming the fear and the favor of man. Any great man of God, any great man in leadership across the world, whatever industry, whatever market it may be, whatever form of leadership you stand in, if your life is marked by God, you have to overcome the fear and the favor of man. You have to understand that your life is aligned to the fear of God and Him alone. Because man is fickle. Ask me how I know. Got too many stories to tell. Man will try and say to you, if you fear me, I will do this for you. Man will try and tell you, if I favor you, you will do this for me. But there is a moment in time, a tension in your life as a man marked by God, where you will have to walk this journey alone. Where you have to say, I stand free from the fear of man. I only fear Him. I revere Him and Him alone. And I live free from the favor of man. Because again, if grace is what He gave me, if mercy is what He gave me, if I understand the authentic leadership that He has called me into, if I understand that I'm a legacy carrier, there is nothing a man will ever need to give you that God cannot provide for your life. And when He provides, He does so with no conditions. when He provides, He does so with the understanding that He will meet your every need. He will provide for you whenever you need it the most. He will use the lowliest of people, the greatest of people, to be a blessing to you. When you understand that you are marked to overcome the fear and the favor of man, when you are not afraid to speak truth, when you're not afraid to say to people, this is where you have erred in your life, and God is calling you back. We all need Nathans in our lives. Nathan stood before David and he said to King David, you are a great man, but you have sinned. That is overcoming the fear of man. So the favor of man is when we are called to understand that there will be things that others can do for us. Things where they can open doors for us. Things where they can give us. But if we are beholden to the favor of man, it stops you and I from trusting Him and Him alone. As a businessman in this country of ours, in the marketplace where you stand, your integrity matters. They will say, if you favor us and if we favor you, then we will build this thing together. You rather show fear of God and God alone to unlock His favor. His favor is sustainable. His favor will never run out. His favor will never leave your life. And if you live in that integrity of the fear of the Lord, then when He favors you, my brothers, let me say this to you. Your life will overflow in abundance. Your life will overflow not just for the now, but for the legacy that you are generating, for the legacy that you are setting forth. So the fifth thing I said to you is this, is for you and I to overcome the fear and the favor of man. So, a life that is marked by God, a man that is marked by God, is a great man. And I want you to know, you are a great man. You may not feel great at this moment in time. You may not feel like where I am and what I find myself in. I've got so much to do. I've got so much still to learn. I don't have the resources. I don't have the connections. But understand this. Your life is marked by God. And when He is in control of your life, then there is nothing that you cannot accomplish. There is things that you will do beyond your understanding. There are people He will make you meet that you never thought you would ever meet. There are situations and platforms He will take you to that you never thought you would be able to stand on. He is too good to you and I to not mark us. And when He marks us for life. So, again, I'm Adrian Jacobs. I had a lot of stories, but let me encourage you. We are all marked by God.